So, Portland, things keep escalating. More violence over the weekend in Chicago, St. Louis. Some police officers shot, but in Portland, and there's video of it, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised at this point. Just some guy with a Patriot Prayer hat and I guess it was one of those police flags, patch on him, just shot in cold blood in the chest in the middle of the sidewalk. And it's almost so casual, just some guy yelling like, "This is a Trumper." That's what it sounds like he's saying. And the guy's, "Who, him? Yeah, right here." And then they just shoot him. It's disturbing to watch how I guess they just thought that they can do this now. Some of them, I'm sure, are under the impression that Kyle Rittenhouse had like murdered 3 people or tried to, and now he's a mass shooter, so the right's out to get us. So they're it wasn't. They don't believe it was a defensive shooting because the victims were, or I should say, the people who lost the firefight were their people. So they're upset about that. They got to always be the victim. But yeah, I mean, you got 600 cars and pickup trucks traveling down through Portland. They're throwing piss at them and stuff, and then they shot some paintballs back. I mean, that's a physical altercation. It wasn't not particularly nasty, but definitely a physical altercation. And then the lights go off, and then some dude's just assassinated, just straight up murdered, just for his hat. So, what does this mean going forward? Well, the Democrats have lost the optics war. I think they thought basically, the riots are hurting our polls, and then they thought the second they saw this kid end up shooting 3 people, they said, okay, we can demonize him, we can call him a white supremacist, and then we can just secretly say all the violence is blamed on white supremacist agitators. But a nice Mustang just drove by. But that doesn't. Sorry, I'm enjoying the car. Kind of an obnoxious exhaust, to be honest. Whatever. Anyway, interruptions. What's the plan? What are they doing? Well, they obviously were trying to paint this kid as a white supremacist so they can say, oh my god, white supremacists are causing the... I mean, there's already a conspiracy theory I saw on Twitter. One guy was saying his friends in the FBI say Antifa doesn't exist. And it's like, no, you don't have friends in the FBI who say that. You're not case, or you just have to so desperately. This kid has to be a white supremacist, otherwise your entire narrative falls apart. So you push it. And it's funny when you walk them back and you prove that like this kid was defensive, then the argument falls to, well, yeah, he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And even that doesn't hold up because, he worked there. It was his community he was cleaning up. But, again, it's like what I talked about before, the castle of lies. It's like if they believe the first lie about the context, then they believe a whole stack of lies on top of it. And you can just punch the hole in one, but it's not going to necessarily break them free of the whole chain of insanity. Luckily, though, moderates understand because they see that kid and they see themselves and they see their business and they go, yeah, I'm glad this kid defended himself. Now, Antifa is now, of course, because the violence has escalated. They've already killed a lot of people. It's just that this was a high-profile attempted murder on this Kyle kid. So the media made a big stink about it. I think they had killed at least like 32 people, which is riot-related. Antifa's killed people. Antifa showed up at ICE facilities and shot them up, tried to burn down buildings with people inside of it while barricading the doors. They've already tried to kill people. They're just not very good at it, which is kind of ironic, I guess. But now that essentially they've lost the optics war, the Democrats can no longer, basically no longer hide the fact that the cities are burning down. They're trying to pivot and blame Trump. They're saying, oh, this is Trump's America. This is his... And people, for the most part, aren't buying it. People on the left buy it because, they believe he, caused COVID to be worse and just other kinds of insanity. But the average person, they're not really buying it because they see who's leading these protests. They see the people who are doing these things. And people in the cities, particularly in the suburbs, who have encountered these people, see what those people are yelling, and those people are blocking their way to work, and those people are saying horrible things, and it's no longer about Black Lives Matter or justice for George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or any of these people who, in some cases, were wrongfully killed. It's about Marxism. They want to tear down the whole system, and they want to hold up basically these unfortunate events as evidence that Marxism's the only thing that can solve it. I mean, they walk around with their commie symbols and the shields, and ask them what their opinion is on communism. These people are not. It doesn't matter. It does. The racial angle is just the thing they're using to agitate. So it's getting more violent. So what do we do? Well, I like the idea of the counter protest, because at least it just it's somewhat of a show of force in your own town to be like, hey, we're gonna just drive through with 600 vehicles and tell you, even if they continue to burn down Portland, basically don't come to the suburbs because we're here in force. So that's kind of a good thing, I think, because it's a deterrent, because they're the military and the police aren't doing anything because they've got incompetent mayors and governors who think they can appease the mob. But a guy walking alone at night with a Patriot Prayer hat on it, they just straight up murdered him. Now, the thing is that people like this have been jumped, beaten, stabbed, and killed in other cases. But this one was so, not only was it fully on video, it was so casual in the manner in which it happened. It was just like, oh, we found somebody and he's alone, so we're just going to shoot him. Don't be alone. If you're going to these things, if you got to be downtown, don't be alone. Kyle's alive. Kyle Rittenhouse is alive because he had really quick reaction time, and he was surprisingly skilled and calm under the pressure with the rifle he had. That's why Kyle's alive. But the odds were against him. He was alone. This guy who just got shot in Portland, he was alone. That's usually what happens when you're alone, is you're an easy target. It doesn't matter if you're armed or not. Being alone is dangerous. When there's basically people patrolling the street looking for a reason to kick your ass or kill you in this case. And governors aren't going to help you. The mayors aren't going to help you. You got to protect yourselves. New York City's a mess right now. I mean, there was a video of some dude in the subway station just trying to rape somebody just right on the platform. I'm not even kidding. Like that's a video that was going on. I forget whether that happened yesterday or this morning, but I saw the video for the first time this morning. And there's no cops around. Like the victim apparently was like a 25-year-old woman. She can't overpower this dude. I mean, I look like I could probably win a fist fight with this guy, but just a small little 25-year-old woman. These people are animals. They're gonna run amok, and they're gonna do horrid things. So, protect yourselves. If New York City, if you have the means to leave the city, leave the city. You got to leave, because if you don't leave, then you're going to be a prime target. The mayor doesn't, and New York State, they don't allow you to carry firearms for self-defense. And God forbid you do it, the DA is going to basically crucify you. Even if, and now we're learning, it's not even just a matter of if a minority person is shot, but if a white Antifa person attacks you and you kill that person, you're still going to get the book thrown at you. Because, it's your, you shouldn't have been there or whatever, You wore the short skirt. So how dare you? You were inciting the violence, enticing them, like they're animals without agency. Now, in some ways, it's kind of like they're in a mass psychosis, like a mass hysteria. So in some ways, they do lose their agency, but they've sacrificed it themselves. That's a decision they've made. So, watch your back. Travel in groups. This is going to be a little worse until it gets better. Is Trump going to invoke the Insurrection Act? Maybe. I don't know. I have a feeling that there's a plan for that the Antifa and the Dems are actually waiting on, because now they're calling for basically the riots to end, and Trump's saying, all right, look, Portland, Oregon, they're not even letting us send federal agents in. So you might have to just declare the Insurrection Act and send the National Guard in to end this this violence, because that's unacceptable in a civil society, what these communists are doing in the streets. But they do that, and they walk in and they throw some Molotovs at some National Guard guys, and some National Guard guys drop some commies, and suddenly Trump has massacred peaceful protesters, right? Because it doesn't matter what the truth is, it matters what something can be spun as optically. And we know that because even when there's clear video of, for instance, Kyle Rittenhouse's self-defense shooting, when there's clear video of that, they still drop the headlines and spin it and try to paint him as a white supremacist and say, spread lies about him, and they give him the Nick Sandmann treatment because it's about the optics. They don't care that what they're saying isn't true. What they care about is that what they're saying advances their cause to defeat evil orange Hitler. That's what they care about. So they'll defame you, they'll defame your family. They'll say you can say you'll be you plan to defend yourself if attacked, and they'll say, well, that means you're inciting violence, or you plan to be violent. Because, and that's the thing, is they put it, when a bunch of commies march in the street and take it over, like, are you allowed to fight back against that? You can normally call the cops or the military, right? Like, oh my God, an organized armed forces, rampaging my town. Are you within your right to, basically be a counterinsurgent? Well, yeah, I mean, as the, logic says that, but the media doesn't say that. The media will crucify you. I mean, just remember what happened to the Proud Boys, right? They got into some scuffles. They were protecting some people. They were boxing essentially against these Antifa thugs, and the Antifa thugs run away, and the Proud Boys, didn't have their faces covered, and they talked to the police. They said, hey, we were here basically to give Antifa somebody to fight so that they weren't beating on old ladies. And then, the founders got arrested, and they said, oh yeah, well, that was gang activity. The law's not on your side. You got to remember, they're going to exploit every single possible unfairness they can, and every single possible optical maneuver they can make to push their agenda. I mean, just could you imagine when this Antifa stuff first started happening, basically post-Trump election, when they started getting really big, if they had actually went out of their way to dismantle them like they did the Proud Boys? Proud Boys were nowhere near as large an organization as Antifa was, but like they didn't go after them and say, okay, well, we're going to prosecute them. And this is the local prosecutors. This isn't the feds. The feds have been tracking them. The feds never tracked the Proud Boys because the Proud Boys were never a threat federally. They've been tracking Antifa, but it's these local DAs, because that's where these idiots from Antifa are apprehended. They're apprehended locally. Basically, local police end up catching them, restraining them after a fight. They send them to the DA's office, and the DA, who's a Soros plant, says, oh, okay, my bad. I guess they're, we arrested you by mistake, and they just let them go. So it's a cycle. It's a problem. Hopefully the violence won't escalate any further, but I don't have a lot of confidence in that. The left is really, really, really worked up, and it's not that the right has had enough, it's that the middle has had enough. It's the guy who never thought about politics before in his life, who's got the pump-action shotgun over his bed, who's just for self-protection. It's that guy. That's the guy that's the guy where basically violence is going to spark, because he's not going to take it anymore. So here's hoping there's no more death, but I suspect there will be.